Contrast is one of the most important and not really talked about writing techniques that will set you apart from other writers. It's a powerful force in storytelling and in the rendering of the work. Whether it's a book, TV show, movie, it doesn't really matter. Contrast is the difference between two qualities of a thing, whether it's loud to soft, fast to slow, emotionally exhausting and intense, and funny. Think about how you can create contrast between your characters. Having two characters who could not be more different will create a more interesting scene than two characters who are identical or very similar in quality. Let's just say you have two acerbic, fast-talking characters. And first of all, there are a lot of Aaron Sorkin scripts that are great that way, but the effect of creating somebody who has a more limited vocabulary, who's slower and speaks in brief sentences, versus somebody who's long-winded and rambles and rambles and rambles. I'm thinking of a True Detective, right? You have Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey's character. One is the dreamer and one is pragmatic in reality, right? Like the contrast between those two characters, those two qualities of being, creates philosophical conflict. It creates dynamic moments between characters. Think about how you can create contrast between your characters in the dialogue, in the things they believe. One believes in God, one is an atheist, one is a dreamer, one is pragmatic. Whatever it is, think about the qualities you attribute to your characters and how your characters express themselves. Make your characters contrast each other in the way they speak. Make your characters contrast each other in the things they believe and the actions they take and the way they are. And this will create more interesting stories. Create contrast between the beats in your storytelling. If you have a high suspense, to the bone, razor sharp scene, that don't follow it up with another scene that does the exact same effect. Create spacing. To achieve good pacing, you need contrast between the scenes in your story. Have contrast between the sequences in your story. If you have two heists back to back, it's going to dilute the effect. Whereas planning a heist is a very different type of scene. It's more methodical. It's more tempered. The heist itself is a lot more high impact. Fast in action, more suspense. If you have contrast in the moment-to-moment reality of your story, this scene was fast, followed by a slow scene. It will reset the audience to feeling another fast scene. I mentioned that this is an advanced topic because it is so not talked about, but it is so critically important to revising great works. If a writer has underwritten, which means like they had fewer pages to the page count that they wanted, it's because they have a lot of the same type of scene back to back, and they didn't really think, did I have a really slow-burning character development scene after my fast-paced get characters from point A to point B scene? This type of variation and this type of consideration of the audience experience is like what sets apart the masters from the people who are figuring it out. Create contrast between your setting and the characters who are in that setting. If you have a world that's bureaucratic and intense, have a character who doesn't fit in with that world. Have characters be in contrast with their environments. If you have every single character fit kind of the world that's in, you don't have a newcomer to the world and setting of your story, it might not be as easy to dive into that or explain the world. Creating contrast between the choice of this is the world that the characters live in, this is what the characters are and what they believe, right? Every world, whether it's New York City or Mars or the galaxy in Star Wars, whatever the setting is, think about what is the status quo of this world? What is normal? What do characters accept to be true? And then use contrast to create characters who are in opposition to the status quo of the emotional and political and social context of the setting you're setting your story in. Finally, create contrast between action and dialogue. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but like the line-by-line reality of your novel, screenplay, script, whatever. If you can create contrast between how the characters speak and then action that happens, what we see, the line-by-line reality. If you have a scene with a lot of long-winded, sprawling dialogue and then long-winded, sprawling narrative description in the text, it might not call attention to what is special about the dialogue, because every word in your story counts. Every single word counts. Whether it's the word the or the word chair, every word has to be written with intention. And if you can take that word out of your story, it shouldn't be in your story, right? So if you were setting up long monologues, really long-winded, a lot of text, characters saying, you're going to undercut the way we digest that monologue. If you have a lot of narrative description too, right? If you have a lot of dialogue, make that be simple. He sits in the chair. That could be simple enough. You don't need to describe things that we don't need to see. We want to put our attention on what is important. Now, Obviously, a lot of writers feel like everything I write is important, right? But actually consider yourself like, what is the purpose of the scene and what is the best way to express it? And contrast between the words on the page, between the words the characters say to each other, and the choices you make about what the characters believe and who the characters are in friendship or in opposition to. Using contrast to create dynamic pairing, creating conflict. That is a quality that will really just accelerate the quality of your writing and make everything hit harder. Like and subscribe if you want more content like this, and check out one of our courses, the free Writing the Short with NYU Professor John Warren, which covers short films, and Writing the Feature with NYU Professor John Warren, which covers everything you need to know about writing feature screenplays. This is a great course, and it's very similar to John's NYU Advanced Screenwriting class. It takes you everything you need to know from an idea to finished screenplay. Thanks so much, and have a great day.